Welcome back to the Modern Day Overthinker podcast. So I'm going through and uploading some audio from a couple of different lives that I've done. And one recently that I did was with Kelli Thompson. She's a leadership coach and an author. And we talked about on January 6th, this was recorded. We talked about her new book, which is called Closing the Confidence Gap, which comes out in September of this year. She really focuses on helping women advance in the workplace and become better leaders. And we had the opportunity to talk about a few different things about her background, expectations of ourselves, expectations other people have for ourselves, self-confidence, as well as mental health, of course. And this is our conversation. Enjoy. Hey, Kelli, how are you?
Hi, I'm here. Thanks for patiently waiting 2 minutes for me.
Oh, that's fine. I got on right at 5 o'clock. So,
All right. All right. I'm not too late then.
as you know, in my line of work right now, it's crazy.
Yes, I am familiar with your line of work. So,
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, so that's kind of how I was able to find out about you. I was able to jump on your meeting for a little bit during busy season. So, doing a lot of multitasking. So,
awesome. Well, I'm
um,
glad to be here.
yeah, thank you for joining me. Just wanted to kind of introduce you and give you a chance to introduce yourself for everyone here. Oh, I'm gonna lose you here. I got the stand. I'm not used to using the corded microphones, but my AirPods don't hold a charge anymore. They're like the original ones.
Oh, the OG ones. You need new ones then.
I know I need the pros, but we used to have a program at work where I got them for free, and I'm cheap. Um, so basically, I wanted to start out by introducing you. You've done a lot of things in your past. I looked at your bio, and it's probably easier for you to explain that than for me to explain it. And right now, I know you're doing a lot of leadership coaching and also finishing up a book. So tell us a little bit about the leadership coaching, and what I know you're trying to promote the book. It'll be coming out sooner rather than later. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for having me. So, as Colin said, I'm Kelli Thompson, and I actually spent a lot of years in corporate America. I was in corporate America for 15 years. I wasn't always out on my own. I went out on my own in 2019 and started my own leadership coaching and training practice. And just in the last 18 months or so, I really targeted women. I do still work with organizations and do, more general leadership training, but in my private coaching, I do coach women one-on-one. At some point, like I had to draw the line. I'm like, I can't serve everybody, right?
I'd have a niche.
You gotta have a niche.
Guess.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so I just got done writing my first book, and y'all, let me tell you, you think that the writing is the hardest part. It's the editing. Like nobody told me about the editing, right? I mean, not only like do you get edits back that like just like are like daggers in the heart. You're like, what? You don't like that? It's you gotta redo it all. But I am writing it. It's called Closing the Confidence Gap. It's written to help women own who they are, trust themselves, take their bravest next step, really show up as the leader that they're meant to be at work. And that'll be out in September of 2022. So I'm excited about that.
That's awesome. And you can say this year now.
I can say this year. Yeah. And I'm married to my husband, Jason. He's a financial advisor, and we have a 16-year-old daughter. And that's another Instagram life. So
I bet that's a whole nother thing. Yeah.
Yes.
I can only imagine. Yeah, so I don't have any kids of my own, so I live vicariously through my friends that have kids, and I'm just like, that's good enough for me.
That's good enough
for now.
Yeah.
For now, anyway. But yeah, so you're working on the book, finishing up it's in like the edit phase right now, or
the editing phase right now.
The frustrating phase.
Yes, for anybody who's ever curious, it's not like a book gets edited once. You submit the book. The publisher looks at the manuscript and they send you edits. And then like a story editor looks at the book and looks at like the stories you're telling, and they send you story edits. then you make more edits.
Uh,
And then the grammar editor gets the book
yeah.
and then they make edits. And so it's like, I think I'm going to be in editing longer than I was in writing. Editing will be done about in March though. And then I'll have a cover that I can, probably send out to folks on social media and have them vote. And just that's when the fun stuff will start. So
That's when you'll start to give people like the sneak peek and all that good
yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Yes,
That's cool.
exactly.
That sounds really fun. Yeah, it sounds like a huge process, because when did you start the process of writing the book?
I started dreaming about writing a book since I was a little girl.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of, I know we're talking a lot about confidence and imposter syndrome and all
Yeah.
that today. I mean, there's just so much self-doubt that goes into that. Because you ask
I
yourself
bet.
questions
Yeah.
like, what if I have nothing to say? Nobody wants to hear my stories.
Yeah.
What if people read this and they think it's absolute trash?
Or like, who am I?
Who am I to write this? Yeah. I don't want to get hate mail. Like, I mean, there's just so many things. And I finally, after, I'm 41 years old, I've been wanting to do this since I was a little girl, but like last year, I finally got tired of my excuses. I'm like, I don't want to go another year and write a book on my goal list. Like, it's been on my goal list forever. So I actually hired someone to help me. And that was huge because I'm not a big person to like.
You want to do it all yourself.
I want to do it all myself. I'm like you. I'm cheap. I don't like to spend money on things. And so I hired a coach. And honestly, the only reason that thing got written is because I was accountable to someone. I paid her money and she had a due date for me every month. And so I'm like, well, I paid this lady. So I got to get her stuff.
Sounds like my therapist. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a book. She's my book therapist.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I have to tell her that. She's my book therapist. And but literally, I think she was actually part therapist because when you send stuff over, you're telling raw stories and she's reading it. So it took me about 7 months to actually write the book. So.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I mean, I've thought about it, and that's not on my short-term goals list. That's on my long-term goals list. I have so many different things that I want to do. I'm kind of all over the place. 'Cause, I do this. I do obviously work a 9 to 5. This thing is going to bother me a lot. And also I make music. So yeah, I'm all over the place. So, but I'm trying to spread a message like through here and through my music, and it's all about like recovering from your mental health, recovering from addiction. I'm also a recovering addict. I don't say that all the time. Especially I've said it to people at work because I'm just like, you know what? I mean, I'm at a point where it is almost, I'm getting closer to 5 years. So I'm just like, if they really want to judge me for that far back, they can. But yeah, it took me a lot of confidence, since we're talking about confidence, to even do like things like this, like lives. I hate being on camera. I like being on the other side of the camera. I like taking pictures. That's another hobby of mine. And it's just like, it took me so much to just get to this point. Because for a while, this account was very stagnant. I wasn't really posting that much. I was just afraid to put myself out there. And now I'm just like, I'm just doing it because I've gotten a lot of good feedback ever since I've done it. A lot of good things have happened. I've met a lot of cool people, and it's just been awesome. So what?
Well, your journey is so courageous. I mean, when you really think and sit back and think about everything that you just said, there's a lot of courage in sharing your story. And I can't speak for everyone here, but like, that's just, I feel like that's really empowering, maybe for yourself, but it's like you're inspiring someone else too.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's so many people that are just like sitting there that want to share their story, or they want to just talk to someone, or they want to hear their story and feel that they're not alone. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do. So
good for you.
It sounds like you're trying to do that specifically for women and building that self-confidence in women. And one of my favorite supervisors actually growing up was a woman, and she has done some awesome things since I've known her. She'd lost like 200 pounds.
Wow.
Like she moved from retail to now she does fitness, and it's just like, amazing seeing people transform their lives like that.
Hmm. Yeah, you're right. I mean, you're no different, right? And I mean, I think folks, here love to hear and see a transformation story because it inspires them to do the same. So,
Yeah, and is that kind of what the book? It seems kind of personal.
hmm, yeah,
So where
I
you're really
sure.
sharing the personal aspect of your self growth and how you kind of done it yourself, and well, with the help of others. Because you have to be able to ask for help. That's another thing I've learned. You can't do everything yourself.
No.
It's not going to work that way. That's
I
what.
talk very openly in the book. There's actually, I would say, three stories that I share that are really personal, that just talked about my mental health at the time or my need for a therapist. The first one is I open the book and I talk about what I call my kitchen table meltdown. And without giving too much away, but that's basically like the moment that I had in my life where all the rules that I was supposed to follow, like get married, and these are rules that my family of origin had decided were good, right? I grew up in a
Yeah.
very small town. Everybody was Catholic. I went to a Catholic school, and so there were just some
Oh, we have that in
ideals.
common.
Yep,
Yeah.
there were just some ideals that were placed on me that I just didn't know any better. I was very naive. And so I just acquired these rules based on my internal family that I should get married, but get married young before all the good ones are taken, and get a
Oh,
job. My parents both had advanced degrees. Make sure you work somewhere that has really good salary and benefits so that you're secure. And you should, as a woman, you just described it, there's a lot of pressure to look a certain way or to maintain a certain weight, or there's so many beauty and diet standards that everybody's hearing about right now. And I opened the book talking about how I tried to do all of those things, and they helped me for a little bit, but what I really ended up doing was living someone else's life. And I ended up getting divorced by the time I was 30. I was experienced depression all through that time because it was hard. It was hard being in a marriage. He was emotionally and verbally abusive. He did have some addiction issues. It took a
how old
lot
were
of
you when you
therapy.
got married?
I was 20, was I 2 or 3? I was
Yeah, it's very young.
young, either way, right? I
Yeah.
was young. I had my first child at 24. And therapy really saved me a few times. And I am all about even taking medication too, if that feels like it's going to help you as well, because I know I for sure did. So that's kind of how I opened the book. I opened the book just talking about all the rules I thought I would have to follow, and
Hmm.
how following those rules actually didn't help me.
Yeah.
They made
Yeah.
things worse, and they led to this moment where I was like, I'm living someone else's life, and living someone else's life and conforming to all these standards really was causing a lot of my problems. It impacted my confidence. And so I go on to share in the book that, one of the ways that, I really kind of helped reclaim my confidence was just getting really clear about what I valued and making choices in alignment with those values, bringing people into my life that were in alignment with those values, doing work that was in alignment with my values, and being okay saying no to people who didn't appreciate those values,
Yeah.
that were using me for the wrong reasons,
Did the
that were
people you have a
crossing my
people
boundaries.
pleasing problem?
What's that?
Do you have a people pleasing problem?
I used to.
Yeah, used to.
I
Yeah.
used to. I
I'm
would
still
say
working on that. Yeah.
in the, I guess if we're using therapy terms, like codependency was a big issue for me. Like a lot of my life was spent codependent on, are you happy? Are you okay? And I think some of that comes from the trauma of being in an abusive relationship. Because when you're walking on eggshells, like in your mind, you're like, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? And so you almost become like codependent on this other person's emotional state. And what I realized is like, no, like you got to do your own stuff. Like you gotta handle your own stuff. You got to be happy. I got to be happy. And so then there's just some other stories that I tell in the book too, where, I was in a relationship after that and ended up calling off the wedding. And therapy was really helpful for that too, with really building my self-confidence again and setting healthy boundaries again. And then now that I am remarried to my husband, we went through infertility for like 3 years. And that was really unexpected. And um, that was a grief that I had just never, I don't even know how to name it.
Yeah.
It was almost grieving a future we thought we'd have with kids. I have a child of my own. He does not. And, that's just another time where I really had to take my mental health into consideration and reach out again to a really good grief therapist, because I just didn't feel grief in my mental state. Like I told her, I felt pain in my whole body. And I think that was a huge indication that I needed to address it yet again, was because I just felt pain in my whole body. And so I know that sounds crazy, but it's just, I think it can really overtake everything. So I'm sure you have questions, but those are just some things that I address in the book that have, I think, a lot to do with, paying attention to your mental health, your boundaries, your values. All those things are really important in building your
life. Growing up with those expectations, I know what that's about. I know all about that. I'm learning about, things that, that went on when I grew up and how I grew up and how I was raised. A lot of good things. Obviously, I can't forget about that as well.
For sure.
But going through therapy, I've had a therapist and a psychiatrist point out a couple different things where I'm just where there's a common theme and this fear and these expectations that I have that aren't even really mine. And it's
the best question I learned to ask was, is this mine to own? I had never even stopped when I was younger to ask myself, is this mine? Is this my feeling to own? Or is that your feeling? Am I even taking on your feelings? Am I taking on your expectations? And so that still is a really powerful question for me, is this mine to own?
Yeah, I learned that a lot in my last relationship, actually. Because I'm 31 and I didn't grow up in a super small town, but I grew up in the Midwest. So in the Midwest, it's very, a lot of people are married or they have kids already. And I'm just kind of like the weird 31-year-old guy that has a cat.
Yeah.
And, which I'm just owning that. I'm just I'm perfectly fine with it. But for a little while, I was just what's wrong with me? Why am I not in a better position than I am now? Why don't I have somebody? I'm broken, stuff like that. And my last relationship taught me, what I really should be expecting out of a partner and what I really need out of a partner, because I was kind of absorbing a lot of their feelings and their emotions. And I think it got to be too overwhelming. And it really wasn't fair to that person. It wasn't fair to me. And I had to make a healthy decision that I knew was going to hurt someone. And it was it impacted me later. It was a delayed response with me, because I ended the relationship. And then 6 months later, she starts seeing a new guy. And then I feel terrible. I'm what's wrong with me? Why am I not dating somebody? I'm the one who broke up with her. I should be thriving right now. But what I've accomplished over the last year, I started doing things that I was afraid of. The recording music again. I used to only record music by myself because I was scared of being vulnerable in front of other people, because I make hip hop music, but I don't make the hip hop music that you hear on the radio. It's deeper, lyrical, thoughtful music. And I like doing that by myself because I could be vulnerable when it's just me. But when I had the engineer and the producer, then it's harder for me to be comfortable around that. So I'm getting used to that. I started doing stand-up comedy, which is very nerve-wracking.
That's the most vulnerable thing you could probably do.
Yes. I just went through a bunch of stuff this year and was just I'm just going to try all of this stuff, because it almost was an addiction in itself, but I wasn't using drugs, but I was just doing good things, healthy things for myself, rather than jumping back into what I used to do. And that was drink or whatever. It was a good year overall when I look back at it. But while I was going through it, I was this sucks. I should be in a relationship. I hate dating apps. They're the worst. I could do a whole. I think I've already done a whole podcast on dating apps, so I'm
Yeah.
not even gonna get into that. But yeah, just it's taken a lot for me to get here, but and I'm learning to really appreciate myself and appreciate my value because I really didn't like think about that enough. I didn't look inward. I was looking outward way too much, comparing myself.
Yep. That's really important what you just said. And that's, I have a whole chapter, actually 2 chapters dedicated to that in the book. One is the chapter title is called It Pays to Be Yourself, and how sometimes we try to tweak, or we hide our quirks and personality quirks and the things that we don't think people will like about us, and then we'll hide them and not use them. But actually, those are the things that often really set us apart. And it's why we get hired. It's why, our partner loves us. It's, why we do good at work. And then the other chapter is all about aligning your purpose and your paycheck, and how owning your strengths at work actually is a source of confidence. To say, you know what, like, I'm an Excel nerd, and that's awesome. Like, it doesn't make me, a nerd or whatever. Like, it actually makes me good at what I do, right? Or I'm really
the term nerd does not negative to me anymore at all.
No, I'm a nerd about a lot of things. And it's like, because of those things, that's a huge source of confidence. It sets me apart. It's my unique talents. It's why people hire me. And so I'm glad that you brought that up, because I think when you can really own your skills and your strengths and your talents, like, it is a huge source of internal confidence. And just like you said, you then become less codependent on what other people think of you. And you just move through the world with a little more confidence, a little less doubt.
That reminds me of how I got the job that I have now. One of the reasons that I was hired, because I had a small office because I was working in Iowa City. I live in Davenport, Iowa now. Well, I've always lived in Davenport, but I was commuting, and Iowa City is about an hour away. So pre-COVID, I was commuting a lot, but we had a very small satellite office because our main office is in Des Moines, which is 2.5 hours away. So I got to know all the people I worked with really well, one being my supervisor. And I was talking to him one day, and he's like, "You know why I hired you, right?" He's like, I'm like, "Why?" Because I didn't think I interviewed very well. I was always really bad at interviewing, I always thought anyway. And he's like, "One, you're the only one to wear a suit." I'm like, I was the only one to wear a suit? That is ridiculous, first of all. Because that was like, I grew up, my dad started his own business, like, it was very successful, but he like worked his ass off, and like, what I got when I graduated school, because I graduated business school, was a suit. That was one of my graduation gifts.
Yeah.
And so, and that was specifically for job interviews. And he's like, and because you did door-to-door sales, which I thought my resume wasn't going to help me. And I had gaps in my resume, I had job hopping in my resume. But I did like these raw sales jobs, and he's like, if you can do these jobs, you can pretty much do anything. I'm like, yeah, you're right, because they were terrible.
It's so true. That's so funny, because like in my book, I have a whole section that talks about one of my first jobs was my worst job, and it was a phone sales job.
Oh, so I did phone sales too. Yeah.
Smiling and dialing, 50 to 80 phone calls a day, selling credit card processing. It was like the worst ever. But like now that I'm off on my own, like, as an entrepreneur, like, that's I was kind of embarrassed to have it, but now I'm like, no, that's a source of confidence. Like, if I can sell credit card processing over the phone, I can run my own business. Like,
yeah. And I plan on running my own business again at some point. I was in it for a little bit, but it was just a bad time. But I really like the security and the company I work for, because you've obviously gotten to know, I don't know if you met John, or I know you met Ray.
Yes. Yes.
And they're just great people to work for. So I wasn't going to settle on a job either after being on my own for a little bit and kind of getting that taste. Even though it didn't go well, I was doing phone repair, but I had some partners, and the whole partnership and everything was just not good.
Yeah.
And I was not good mentally at the time. So it just didn't work out, but I got a taste of that. So I wasn't going to settle for just any any job, I couldn't do it. And I was very lucky to know someone who already worked. I'm not going to say the name of the company I work for on here, but that already worked for the company I work for, and it was my in. And that was another thing I learned is it's not really about like, the old saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know, but that really is. It's like I got that foot in the door, and that's all I needed.
So important to build relationships because you just never know. And sometimes those relationships like come through for you 10 years down the line. You just never know. And that's so good. Yeah. And you work for a great organization, great people.
Yeah, I'm very lucky, and they've handled the work from home thing. I was trying to work from home before COVID, and
they crushed it.
So I was like, thank you. But COVID is terrible, and it's back again. Both of my parents have COVID right now. They're doing fine, luckily, because they're vaccinated, but it's just, and boosted. It's just ridiculous. It's a huge mess. Yeah. And in Iowa, we acted like it didn't exist for a while, so that didn't help. A lot of people anyway. So yeah, it's been crazy, but yeah, the work from home thing's been great. I'd have had to make some adjustments for myself mentally though, because I don't have that interaction with people that I used to every day. I mean, everything's virtual. It's not the same.
I was talking with somebody about that the other day about how with remote work, it's really important to stay connected. I'm an introvert. I don't know if you're an introvert, but like for me as an introvert, like this has been kind of okay because like I get to be in my little hole all the time,
Yeah.
But that's actually not all that healthy. And I think, when you think about what makes humans happy, like I think Brene Brown says, like, we're wired for connection. And so it's just really important to make those extra efforts to keep those connections alive because it's just really important for your mental health, for sure.
Yeah. And I honestly, my personality, I wouldn't say I'm an introvert, but I can definitely isolate and like to be by myself and enjoy my alone time. But I can only do it for so long before I was like, I need to talk to somebody, or I need, at least to call somebody or do something. But yeah, people ask me that all the time. Like, you work from home, doesn't it get lonely? And like, yeah, a little bit, but at the same time, I think about, I'm just pre-wired. I have my dad, who was very, very good with his finances. I have my grandpa, who was one of the cheapest people I've ever met in my life. And I'm like, I'm saving so much money, no more gas, I'm not, beating up my car every day, and, time. I'm saving a lot of time, which is that's even more important than anything to me. Learning is time is so much more important to me than it used to be. I used to not really value it like I do now.
For sure. 100%.
I don't know how long you have. Do you have another meeting after this?
I have about like 2 or 3 more minutes. I don't
Okay.
I have meeting because my husband's making dinner. So that's my meeting.
That's fair. Dinner. That's fair. No, I understand that because my dad will text me like if I'm not like, because I go to family dinner across town to my parents' house.
Yeah.
And if I'm not like right on time, I'd be like, where are you at?
Where are you at? Did you die? Hey, as a parent, I get it. It's like if they're 2 minutes late, it's like, where are you? Are you? Because like every parent's like, oh my gosh, they're in a ditch somewhere. Like.
Yeah, with me, especially early in my recovery, I bet they worried even more. But they don't worry about that. Yeah. So I'm glad they don't have to really worry about that as much anymore. But yeah, and then I have to reassure them though that hey, I go to these meetings that I go to for a reason. If you want me to stay in, if you like this version of me, you should probably understand that I need to do these other things. And, getting other people to understand that don't really grasp addiction or fully understand it. It's always fun having that conversation with them.
Well, one of the things I think that you should applaud yourself for, and I encourage everyone to do, is that you just shared a really good example of how expressing your needs is really important. And I think sometimes we overlook how important that is. And I talk about that a lot. Like, it can feel scary to be clear and to tell people what you need and to say, hey, I need this. I need support with this. I need you to allow me to do this. This is important to me. This isn't aligned with my values. Like, that's a scary and vulnerable conversation. And so I think you just made a really good point that I hope all of us take away on how important it is just to tell people what you need. Because when you tell people what you need, then they don't have to guess on how they can support you. So.
Yeah, like I remember going to my first wedding after I stopped drinking, and I was like super scared because weddings were like, oh yeah, it's on at weddings. You're
Yeah.
open bar,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a friend from college who I partied with a lot, and I like let people know like where I was going and where I was going to be, and just so I had like that lifeline in case I needed it. And it ended up being like really chill and not at all. Everybody was like a lot more grown up than I thought they were going to be, and so it ended up working out a lot better. But
Good for you.
of course, I always think things are going to be way worse than they actually are. That's another thing.
Don't we all? Don't we
Yeah.
all? Well, thank you for having me on today. I appreciate it. It was good to connect with you via the special company that we both work with. So.
Yeah, it was really great. I hope we can stay in touch, and looking forward to checking out the book as soon as it comes out.
Awesome. And if anybody has any questions, they can feel free to message me or reach out. So thank you so much.
Yeah,
Have a good rest of your day.
definitely. You too. Bye.
All
Take
right.
care.
Bye.